SportsCenter anchor Bob Stevens, esteemed basketball coach Rich Basirico, and Hall of Fame sports writer Curry Kirkpatrick. And someone's going under the bus.
Oh, we're going to put all kinds of people under the bus in this show. Bob Stevens, along with Curry and Rich. We're coming off of Father's Day. Three guys, got to have a dad story. Curry, give me a dad story. Either you as a dad or your dad to you. What do you got?
Well, I had daughters. I had two daughters. So every year it's a huge upset that they even remember Father's Day. So it's nice. It's nice to hear from them. No, I don't remember. My dad and I we celebrated Father's Day. I mean, it was a big deal. I remember, but I don't remember specifically any trip we took or anything like that. So I can't. I know Rich. Rich was coaching when his dad was.
Yeah.
His dad was not into sports at all or coaching, and I'd be interested to know some of his stories about his dad surrounding his coaching career.
Yeah, the thought would be that Rich's dad, that's where he got it all from, and he was on his arm while he was probably coaching and all that, but not the case, huh?
Well, my dad was was the best. He was just a terrific dad, and my mom and dad spoiled me rotten. I'm not embarrassed to tell anybody that. But my dad would take me to Yankee games and Knicks games when I was young. So I really got into sports that way, going to Yankee Stadium. And we never saw the Yankees lose. I think we went 14 times over my childhood and never saw the Yankees lose, which was beautiful. The Knicks weren't very good at the time. The Knicks were not good at the time. But back then, they used to play NBA doubleheaders at the old Madison Square Garden. And that was fun. That was absolutely fun to watch. So we used to listen to Giants game. Marty Glickman was the announcer. He got me into the Giants, the Knicks, the Yankees. Never got into hockey much, but he was huge and supported me when I played in high school and college. And then the big thing is when I coached, they retired to Hilton Head and came to watch our games. And he was always there. My mom and my dad would travel and watch us play. And my dad, bless his heart, lived to be 99. So he came to a lot of games. But at the end of his life, I guess he stopped coming maybe when he was 95, maybe. And I said, Dad, how come you're not coming to any more games? He goes, I get too nervous. I just can't sit in the stands anymore. I just get too nervous. But he was so into fantasy football. He won, he would call me at work because people would propose to trade to him. Now he's in his 90s now. And he goes, Rich, this guy is proposing this trade in fantasy football. I go, well, tell me. He would tell me, he goes, do they think I'm stupid? Because they would make these ridiculous trade offers. And he would say, do they think I'm stupid? But he won. I know when he was 97 and 98, he actually won the league. So so that was fun to kind of do things like that with him. And actually, when he passed away at the end of November 2019, and obviously fantasy was going on at that time. And my brother-in-law said, I'll take his team over, and he ended up winning. He came in first place and won the money, and Dan, my brother-in-law, we just split the money then, But he was really he loved sports. He didn't play sports in high school. He went to Boys High in Brooklyn, which was very good basketball school. He tried out for the Citadel football team, never played football, and tried out when he went to the Citadel his freshman year and lasted one day. He said they just ran him over, and he goes, that was the end of my football career after one day. But his influence on me with sports was tremendous, and I love him for that and all just being a great dad.
He took you to see Lou Alcindor play in high school? Tell me.
Yes.
Tell that story.
Well, we go into a Knicks game, and it was at the old Garden. And as we were walking to the Garden, he says to me, there's going to be a high school game before the Knicks game. I go, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. And I think I was 10 at the time. And he said there's going to be a really tall player on this high school team from Powell Memorial. They were playing DeMatha at the time. And I said, really tall player. Wow. So I think Lausina was 7'1". So back then, that was that was really tall. You didn't see many 7-footers. And I would always remember where we were sitting, I saw Knick players come out and stand, and obviously a ways back, but they were there watching Alcindor play. I mean, they were so intrigued by what a great player he was and being that tall. And I think Powell Memorial was upset by DeMatha. It wasn't a game that I watched, but somewhere down the road, DeMatha did beat him because they had a long winning streak. But that was pretty cool to watch Lou Alcindor play when he was in high school.
How about that? Yeah, yeah. Curry was probably getting ready to write about him.
Probably.
Bob, what about your dad?
Well,
Right.
A couple of quick stories. First of all, he was my all-time favorite golf partner because the two of us, we lived on opposite coasts. We would get together once or twice a year to play golf. He introduced me to golf, and we would get together. We would play 18 holes. We would probably say 10 words to each other, and would have a great time. He was a little quiet, but we still, we could talk to each other without actually talking to each other.
Right.
When I was a kid, little league kid, he was actually the coach for a while. In fact, we had on the farm in farm country, the dads could coach up to a point, and then they had to go do the harvest. So in July, my mother coached the team. And she was actually really a pretty good baseball fan. She could change pitchers. She knew what was going on. She could fill out the lineup card. But anyway, Dad would throw at me when I was a little kid. When I was like 9, and I was just ready for the pitch inside, and he'd throw at me, and probably why I was never a very good hitter. I would always blame him for that. So that's a couple of good dad stories. All right, let's talk about the dad of Rafael Devers' kids. I guess that's probably the big story going on this week. The big trade by the Red Sox. Rich, they beat your Yankees. They swept your Yankees. And then they traded the best player. What's going on?
I don't understand that. Well, first of all, they have our number one this year for sure. I mean, I think Yankees they played 6 times. Yankees won once, which is terrible. Why does Boston make that trade? I mean, they were having somewhat of a down year per se. Now all of a sudden they're playing well, and you trade your best hitter. It doesn't make sense. But I did read something this afternoon that said that the owner, John Henry, was trying to. He also owns, and Curry, you probably knows, he owns a soccer team, I guess, in the Premier League. And he just signed a player for $100 million. And they think that might be the reason to try to get rid of Devers. His salary is what, 313 million, whatever it is. And
they signed a German player that they were after. Yeah.
Okay.
So maybe that
Devers,
Devers in Liverpool, right?
Since the beginning of the spring, though, Devers was not going to hang around the Red Sox. Since the beginning of spring, when they got Bregman, he bitched and moaned about that because they changed his position. Then they wanted to make him a first baseman. He wouldn't want to do that. But he's, as you said, he's coming around. He's hitting great now. And they'd won, Red Sox, I think, won 3 straight series. And they're 5-1 against the Yankees. And they upstaged themselves in the week that they've been celebrating. They upstaged themselves by trading him. I mean, no sense of timing whatsoever. I mean, it's unbelievable. And now they got, and look at the people they got for him. I mean, they got a bunch of nobodies, right?
Yeah,
they got a bunch of farmhands and
a couple of kid pitchers and a couple of prospects.
Prospects. They got prospects. Those guys, you never know if they're going to make it or not, right?
They did get the Giants to eat the whole salary. Devers is, it's got $300 million coming over the next 9 years or whatever, and the Giants will pay that. The Giants struck out on every, they tried to get all of the big names. They even had a decent shot at Judge because he grew up in their backyard.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
But they got none of them. So they are still trying to find somebody big, a name. The biggest name the Giants had before this weekend was their general manager, Buster Posey.
Right,
So,
Posey, yeah, of course, yeah.
so they needed to do something, and they're within 2 games of the
Right,
Dodgers.
of the Dodgers, yeah.
So,
So I think for them, I think it's a great move. That one of the pitchers was their number one prospect, but he hasn't done so well, and they're sending him to the minors. So you don't even know what's going to happen with those 2 guys that they supposedly were really good players. I don't know. Well, time will tell, as always. But I think it's a great move for the Giants. I think Curry, I agree 100%. I think they just got tired of him bitching and complaining, why am I not going to play third? And then he was the DH, and the first baseman got hurt. And they said, well, let's move you to first because I'm not going to play first. And
Yeah.
what kind of team player is that, So I think they just got tired of his BS and just decided we'll ship him out. But they should have got more than what they got for him, I think.
except
Well, if they'd have waited till the deadline, I mean, they trade him, a week before the deadline. If they waited to the deadline, they'd probably get a lot more for him, right?
we still got a month. Yeah.
Still a month, end of July.
They finally found somebody who would take his entire salary. The Red Sox don't have to pay any of that. That's probably why they got out from under it. They're interesting the way baseball works. So now the Red Sox do not have Devers. They do not have Xander Bogaerts. They do not have Mookie Betts. But they got all these kids, and so they think these kids are going to do something special for us. And that it will indeed be interesting to watch. Probably the biggest sporting event over the weekend. Should we take a break before we talk U.S. Open? Let's do that. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back and we'll talk about how the U.S. Open was the biggest cluster for a long time, and then all of a sudden it became clear, even if the weather didn't. We'll be back. Under the Bus, brought to you by Hudson's on the Docks. Hudson'sOnTheDocks.com. Welcome back to Under the Bus. Bob Stevens along with Curry Kirkpatrick and Rich Basirico. The U.S. Open Golf Tournament, Father's Day weekend. Again, that's a Father's Day thing, tradition. Dad and I would watch it when we could. He always rooted for Jack. I always rooted for Arnie. So maybe that tells you something about how we got along right off the bat. But
yeah, my dad loved Arnold Palmer, and so I did too. But that was an attraction. I thought this Open was, as you said, for 3 days it was going under the bus, the entire U.S. Open, and then we came to Sunday. I mean, it was a bunch of nobodies struggling. The star of the show was Oakmont and the church pews and the whole thing. That was the biggest star. A little personal privilege, if I could give you a story. I when I was covering for Sports Illustrated, I was doing a lot of the tournaments that Dan Dinkins didn't want to do, but I did the U.S. Amateur. Oakmont has had 10 U.S. Opens and six U.S. Amateurs there. And 1969, the amateur had 4 guys who would win majors: Tom Watson, Andy North, Tom Kite, and Lenny Watkins. They were all in the U.S. Amateur that year. But a friend of mine was the winner. His name was Steve Melnick. You might remember him. He was a great amateur player out of the University of Florida. They had won the NCAAs the year before that, and he was a dominant amateur player. And so that's the year I covered it, and he won that year.
How did you and Melnick become friends?
Sorry?
How did you and Melnick become
friends? Covering these amateur tournaments. I did a lot of Sports Illustrated. In those days, we did a lot of amateur golf, which was great because, as I mentioned, all these great young players were being amateurs then and were playing. And Melnick turned pro a few years after that, but so he He wins the amateur in 69. The next year, 1970, was the second year of the Heritage down here on Hilton Head.
Yeah.
And so I came down to cover the Heritage. Of course, Dan Jenkins did the first Heritage, and I
Right.
did the second one. And as I said, Melnick was a good friend of mine, and they gave him this huge condo on the ocean. And he was all alone. So he said, Curry, why don't you come over and stay with me? Because he had this huge, sprawling, like 8-bedroom condo that, that the tournament gave him because he was defending U.S. Amateur champion, of course.
Sure. It was a big deal.
So I stayed with him, and he led the Heritage after 3 rounds. So I was going to have this great inside story to write. And then I think he shot 80 on the last day. He didn't win it.
Jeez.
But anyway, back
Good
to
TV
Bob
commentator.
Gold. That year, Bob Golby beat Lanny Watkins in the second Heritage. So, it was but back to the drama on Sunday at Oakmont. I mean, Oakmont was sensational, of course. I mean, I couldn't believe the rough. I mean, these players hit in the rough. It was an automatic bogey. It was no chance. And it proved to me that the way this thing finished, that proved to me that anybody can win one of these things. Because, all the whole group that was struggling around the lead all day Sunday. I mean, do you remember some of these names? I mean, two of them were live players. Terrell Hatton, the Mad Hatter, is a crazy guy, and a guy from Mexico, Carlos Ortiz. They're live players. We had a left-hander, for God's sake, from Scotland, Robert McIntyre. Nobody ever heard of this guy. He's left-handed. No left-hander has ever won the Open. So lefties were all rooting for him. And then we had Sam Burns, who, is more known for being Scotty Scheffler's butt boy. Remember at the Ryder Cup? He was on the Ryder Cup only because he's Scheffler's friend. Everybody criticized that selection. That's Sam Burns. So he's playing along here at the lead. And Adam Scott was the old guy, the sentimental choice. But and then Victor Hovland, always around during majors, always runner up. None of these guys were gonna. And then JJ Spawn, for God's sake, JJ Spawn. I mean, all these nobody's around. I don't know if people were watching this, but it was incredible drama. And they had the rain. Then they had the rain delay, and a lot of them lost their mojo after the rain delay especially Sam.
It helped JJ. It actually helped JJ.
Well, yeah, except for him. Except for him. And he's such a grinder, but I couldn't tell if he's black or white. I mean, when they showed him, but it turns out his dad is a American white guy, and his mom is
he's Filipino Mexican.
His mom is half Filipino and half Mexican. That's
okay.
And his grandparents on the maternal side came from the Philippines. But if you watched him on the range, if you lined up these guys, he has the most unbelievable great swing.
Yeah.
I mean, JJ Spawn is it's hard to believe he hadn't won one more, to me, because he has he has great patience and great swing, and then all of a sudden on 17 and 18 he blows the tournament open. The 17 he hits the drive of his life on the green, makes a 2-putt birdie, and that was the shot of his life until the next hole.
All you got to do is 2-putt here from 64 feet. He makes the longest putt of the entire tournament by anybody. Was that putt he made to close it out?
But how do you think about this? He bogeys the first 5 out of 6 holes.
5 holes. Yeah.
I mean, he's done.
He's
and
done.
How about he bogeys the first hole? He comes to the second. He hits this great approach shot. It hits the flag stick, and instead of staying there for maybe a par or birdie, it bounds back 50 yards back down toward him. And the camera showed JJ's face. It just went from weird look to weird look to weird look as he's watching the ball come back. I mean, he was like right there, the lucky loser right there.
You got to be thinking, I'm done. I mean, bogeys the first, and then has that happen to him at the second. Like you said, Rich, bogeys 5 of the first 6. but
Which is
the rain
crazy.
delay
Think
helped.
about that. How I mean, some of the other golfers who played poorly, really good golfers, bogey, bogey, double bogey, bogey, and they never recovered. Never
Yeah.
recovered. They just went downhill from there.
He
He
ends up
bounced
shooting
back.
2 under par for
Yeah.
the round after
Right.
5 out of 6 bogeys to start the day. That's
Amazing. That tournament had the most bogeys in the history of golf. Seriously, there were so many bogeys, it was ridiculous. How
Well,
about
it
did
showed how.
you know that JJ, I don't know if you saw the story today, he woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning and went to CVS to get some medicine
For
for
his
his daughter
daughter, yeah.
who was sick.
that'll
How
start
about
Father's
that?
Day for you. Yeah.
I think I would have told my wife she needed to go get the medicine because I needed to
Yeah,
sleep,
really, really.
right?
But
The
My wife's
yeah,
barking in the background here at me.
he told
everybody
some
was
funny
better later, that's for sure.
he told some funny stories about his daughters that they'd never seen a trophy and they didn't know what it was. And when he brought the trophy to them when they were right next to him, could touch it, they were so amazed, like little girls. That's just great story.
Good
But I
stuff.
I want to throw
Throw
we're under
somebody
the bus here. We're under the bus here. I want to throw these officials under the bus. On the 15th hole, Sam Burns hits his drive into standing water, sitting water, sprawling water, right in the fairway. I mean, and he's taking practice swings, and the water is just splashing up like they're waves. And he's showing. I think he took like 10 practice swings to show everybody I should get a relief here.
Right.
So he calls for relief. The guy comes over. No, we're not giving relief. He calls another one, right? Bobby gets or did his partner?
He gets a second opinion. Yeah.
Did his partner have to call the other guy over?
No.
Have to call?
He called in a second guy.
He called him over for a second opinion, and that guy said, "No, you got to play it." I mean, I thought that. I mean, Bob, what's the rule? Is it in the eye of the beholder? What's too much water? When did they give the guy relief?
No, it is in the eye of the beholder, and the players will always try to get it, and of course that's the joke on the tour, regular tour events, is how easy the tour is on lift, clean, and place. They do it all the time, and but the USGA, I mean, these are guys who allowed 6-inch rough in the first place. So they're not going to be too cooperative.
Yeah, I think we're trying to show the golfers we're in charge here. We're not giving this guy relief. But I'm telling you, just from a standpoint of a fan, we're looking at that guy hitting out of the water. I mean, it looked like a pond he's hitting out. And then, of course, when he hit the shot, it hooks left, it goes into the rough. He double bogeys, and then he just thrashes around coming in. I mean, it just broke him. That hole broke him. You could see it. You could see it. And he handled himself pretty well. I think he did have some F-bombs under his breath while he was, when they didn't give him the relief. He said, I mean, you could hear him he said couple times, he said ridiculous. And I think he said this is an effing pond I'm hitting out of or something. But afterward, he didn't blame the loss on that. He handled it perfectly afterward. But I mean, it just goes to show, like like the Frenchman at the British on the 72nd hole a few years ago. It just, of course, he didn't have any more holes to recover.
John Van de Velde, yeah.
But this hole it just destroyed Burns. You could tell he was first of all, he was furious. I mean, he was really furious that they didn't give him the relief. And I mean, just as spectators, you could, and so he goes on to shoot 78.
Yeah.
That's how much, 78. And Scott, his playing partner, Adam Scott, shot 79. Yeah. He looked as upset at the ruling as Burns did. I mean, he's such a classy guy, Scott. Yeah. And but he looked like he was upset too at what happened.
Yeah, I was really surprised that Adam Scott folded up like he did, because they
just scuffled
for a long time. The thing I was watching all day is I kept watching that leaderboard and said, okay, how far is Scheffler back? How far is can Scheffler? All he had to do was do anything, and he'd have been right there. But they
they showed him enough. They showed him more. They showed him more than they showed JJ until the end. Until the end.
JJ
I
was
mean,
out
it
of
was
it.
like Scheffler. It was like Scheffler was in. You're right. They kept showing him. If he'd have made one birdie, like on 15 or 16,
Yeah.
it would have, maybe gets another one coming in.
All
But
right.
it was something. I mean, that's 2 weekends of tennis and golf having just epic finishes
Yeah.
at their respective opens. Yeah, great stuff.
Good stuff indeed. I wonder what we've got coming up. Of course, the golf goes, well, the tennis goes to Wimbledon. The golf goes to Royal Portrush in Ireland. So it'll be interesting to see how July plays out with the two of them. We're going to catch up, throw some other people under the bus, and do all that. Nobody else, Rich, you want to throw under the bus for golf? For the Open?
Not for golf. No, not for golf.
All right. We'll hang in there. We'll throw some other people under the bus. When we come back, Under the Bus brought to you by Hudson's on the Docks. Again, log on to hudsonsonthedocks.com. Find out more about this great restaurant on Hilton Head Island, South Carolina. Welcome back, Under the Bus. Bob Stevens, Curry Kirkpatrick, and Rich Basirico. NBA Game 5 is going on as we speak. Oklahoma City will win it and then probably take care of it in 6. There have been 22 series that were tied 2-2 after the first 4 games. The team that had the home court advantage for those last 3 games has won 15 of the 22 since 1970. Actually, there have been 3 fairly recently. The Bucks beat the Suns in 2021. Despite that, they were one of the 7. In 2011 and 2006, and then back in '85, the Lakers beat the Celtics, despite Boston having the home court for 2 of those last 3. So Oklahoma City will win and probably go on and finish this thing off. We're also missing.
Bob, wait a minute.
We've
been saying that for 3 weeks. Rich picked the 4-1, and I kind of agreed with him. I think at the beginning of this thing, everybody thought it was going to be a blowout, but I think by now, these teams are not that far apart. I think we can agree on that. They're not that far apart. And the
NBA draft is coming up next week. Are these guys going to be done before the draft?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's always done before the draft.
Don't you think the Pacers had them on the ropes this last game? It was so disappointing because I'm pulling for the Pacers, even though I picked OKC, and OKC went on a 12-1 run to end the game. But
Pacers got 1 point in the last 3 minutes. The Pacers scored 1
and
point.
they're playing at home. They got the crowd behind them. Everything's going their way, and they just couldn't finish. I mean, they took I thought some bad shots down the stretch. But the difference in the game is from the free throw line. OKC shot 90% from the free throw line, and I think Indiana shot like 76, which isn't bad. But they had one of their players missed 3 out of 4 foul shots down the stretch. Missed 2 in a row, and another 2 attempts, missed the front end of that. But look, if you look at the
I
best
think
players,
that was Mathurin. I think that was Mathurin.
Right,
and
it was.
The thing I want to ask of Rick Carlisle, Mathurin had 27 like the game before. What is he doing? He's not even playing in the third quarter in the game, the last game we're talking about. So he goes in and he missed three fouls, 3 out of 4 foul shots. He's rusty. He hadn't even played the game. Right. Why Rick Carlisle, I'm asking, is Mathurin not in the game? I don't understand that. And there's some things, the bigs of Oklahoma City, Hartenstein, the former Knick, and they haven't done squat when they're in together. Their big game is what's happened. I don't get it.
Well, he doesn't. They don't even look for him to score. I mean,
No,
his
no.
basically job is out top screening. I mean, he does roll to the basket, but they're not even looking for him to make that
But
pass.
but he doesn't even do that now, Rich. He's
Mm,
had no impact on the series at all. And the
No,
other guy,
zero, right?
Chet Holmgren, who is going to be a star, I'm disappointed in how he plays. Some games I don't understand it why he's not dominating more. Because
Well,
a big matchup to me in these last three games, if there's going to be three, is Holmgren against Miles Turner for the Pacers, who has just withered and disappeared the
yeah.
last three games for the Pacers. He
He does,
really has done nothing.
well, he hasn't shot the ball well. The thing what's
No.
alarming is Turner is their center, right?
Yeah.
Look how many rebounds he gets a game. It's terrible for a
Well,
guy that plays that many minutes.
he has
Plays
more
that many
blocked
minutes.
shots than rebounds.
He
Like,
does. You're
yeah,
exactly right. He'll get two
yeah.
rebounds. You're playing 30 something minutes. You're 6'11". You get 3 rebounds. Come
Well,
on now.
he loves to play outside and shoot
Well, of
threes too.
course.
But when he's
Yeah,
not making those, yeah, he's
yeah.
not.
He's not a,
Guys,
I don't know.
you guys know way more basketball than me. Tell me what happens when you get to a game 5 of a series, and then there could be a game 6 or a game 7. I mean, these guys, how do you, if you're having a bad series, how do you shake out of it? How do you do anything different to make,
yeah.
to
Well,
make
and I
it
think
when you
I
get
think
this?
by this time the teams know everything the other team's going to do. They hate each other after 4 or 5 games. They hate playing again, and they don't. That's why this last game there was some scuffles, and there's probably going to be more. Hard fouls and stuff like that. But I don't know. As a coach, Rich, what do you change? You don't really change much because they
No,
know
no.
all
Right,
your changes
right.
by now.
Right. No, you don't make, I mean, you make maybe simple changes here and there, how you're going to defend somebody and so forth. But I mean, they obviously watch film. They break it down, but there's no major changes. I mean, what major change you can make offensively? They don't run an offense. So how is there any changes in running the offense? They might just defend differently on screens and that type of thing. Which guys? But I'm always taken back about what they do offensively. But NBA players can bounce back so much quicker than a high school or college kid. They put that game behind them and move forward. Everybody's always saying, well, they're going to be down and out because they lost this game. Where's that happened? Both teams have
Well, I
blown
think
leads and
in
they
the
bounce back the
coaches.
next game.
Yeah, and I think coaches depend on their intuition with certain players. Like as I said, this guy Matherin gets 27 one game, and he hardly plays in the next game. Caruso for Oklahoma
Yep.
City, he's gotten 20 in both of their wins. In the two
Yeah.
losses, he's done nothing in the two
Right.
losses. So
Right.
you try to figure out. You get a feel. I get these coaches get a feel for who's going to be hot, who's down, who's up.
Yeah, but I don't. But Curry, I think some guys in the NBA kind of stick with their guns on how many minutes guys can play. How about TJ from the Pacers? The 2 games ago, he had 10 points, 5
McConnell.
assists, 5 rebounds. He doesn't play. He has a great first half, makes these steals. I mean, they're playing great. He got the energy, the crowd's into it. His teammates are into it, and then doesn't play him for the whole third quarter. Doesn't play him until the last minute of
Yeah,
the third quarter. The last minute. Did he not see what he did in the first half? Why do you
that's
think
what I say
he only
about
played
Matherin.
15 minutes that game?
That's what I say about Matherin too.
Yeah.
I don't
I
get it.
don't,
Like
I don't understand it.
the NBA is weird to me.
Yeah.
This stuff happens. I mean, Oklahoma City might win by 30 tonight. It wouldn't
That's
surprise me.
true. Could happen.
And
Absolutely
and
could happen.
yeah, and but
All
what
right.
as what's your name? Bob has pointed out. He's already got it going 7. The home team wins the next 3 games. Yeah,
Home teams win.
so we
Yeah,
might as well not watch it. So might as well
Already
not.
I probably won't. Great job by Shohei Ohtani tonight, though. He pitched for the first time.
Did he? How do you do?
Opened up for the Dodgers. Pitched a great. They just wanted to pitch a couple of innings, but he
Right.
got out there.
Did he do 2 innings? Did he do 2 innings?
Nostradamus. Yes, 2 innings.
Are you picking that, or has it been done?
No, I'm throwing you guys under the bus for making a statement tonight, and not waiting until tomorrow. final folks under the bus?
Oh, I have one.
Okay.
You ready?
Yes.
This has nothing to do with any sport we've talked about.
Great.
Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, that's mine too. Go ahead. Go
Aaron
ahead.
Rodgers. His family doesn't even think he got married. I mean, they signed with the Steelers. He's got a wedding band on, talking about, yeah, I've gotten married. And his family's come out and said, I don't think he's gotten married. I don't think he's gotten married. His own family's saying that.
So you think he's
Guys,
trolling the media with where?
why would you put a wedding band on if you're not married?
Rich, I love the fact that you've been following this. That's so great. And Aaron, it's nothing to do with football either. But I've got another take on this. The girl or woman that quote broke this story said she was a Steeler, a beat girl or something. She does stuff for ESPN. She said she was driving in to the compound behind or in front of Aaron Rodgers, and so she saw him on the parking lot, and she asked him about the ring because he's had the ring on since Kentucky Derby or something, because I guess she was at the Kentucky Derby with whoever this is he's allegedly married to. And the reporter asked him, is that a wedding ring or is it just a regular ring or something? Nice question. And Aaron Rodgers says, no, it's a wedding ring. And then he repeated that at the press conference. But she's the first one that asked him. And she said, well, is it a wedding? He said, yeah, it's a wedding ring. I got married about 3 weeks ago. And she sends it back to the studio with that. I said, what? Wait. The next question is, well, what's the lucky lady's name? Who is she? Can you who did you marry? What's her name? Nice question. Right. Or a sweet question. And Aaron could have answered sweetly or been an a-hole like he normally is and say something like, it's none of your business or something. It knows we're going to find out anyway. I mean, I would think he would have said the name, but the first thing I thought of, this woman's a journalist. And the next question is, you ask, who did you marry? Come on.
Maybe it's Jordan Belichick's girlfriend.
Well, let me ask a follow-up here. Has it been revealed whether he's actually married or not? Do we know?
No. There's no trace of a legal marriage. There's no.
And his own family says he's not married.
His own family says he's not married.
Of course, he's estranged from his family,
well,
so they
that's
don't.
True too. Yeah,
we know
that's
that.
True too.
Yeah.
So, but you think he would have told his parents? Who knows?
All right.
Makes no
I would have
sense.
loved Aaron to say yes. Of course, I got married, and her name is Taffy. Quick, do me quick. And we met at the Kentucky Derby, and then we got married on the infield at the Preakness. And she's a stripper named Taffy. Come get me. I would have loved, because that's who he's probably talking about.
So,
but I thought, where is the journalist here? Where, she sends it back. Where is Edward R. Murrow when we need him? Where is Ed Murrow?
Good night and good luck. So we leave this show not knowing how well Shohei Ohtani actually pitched, whether Aaron Rodgers is actually married, and who's the coach of the Knicks. Are we going to know any of those by next week?
Which will we know first? We know first? We'll know Shohei Ohtani.
The Knicks will be last, probably. Think about the Knicks. The Knicks have tried how many different coaches who are Dallas, Chicago, Minnesota, and all these people tell them they hang up. Like, get the hell out of here. We're not letting you take our coach away from us. Why do the Knicks think they could call a general manager up and go, hey, we want permission to speak to your coach? And the guy's going to say, oh, yeah, sure, go ahead. Go right ahead.
I have this theory founded on nothing, that the Knicks are going to come up with a big surprise, big name guy. That's my theory.
Well, who's the big name guy? Who's the big name guy?
I have no idea.
You
might be Aaron Rodgers. Might be Aaron Rodgers. He's going to announce his retirement to go coach the Knicks.
Well, Curry, your buddy Dick Vitale, you know what he said? They should rehire Tibbs back. Vitale came out and said they just go back and say, hey, we're sorry, we let you go, we want you back.
Yeah, I wonder if he'd do that.
I
My
don't, who
answer is
knows?
no. My
Yeah,
answer is no.
yeah.
He'd never
He
do
wouldn't.
that.
He
You
wouldn't
don't
do.
think
They
he
wouldn't
would?
do that. Anymore.
You don't
Yeah.
think so?
No, I don't think he would take it
Okay.
back. How come? How
No.
come Mark Jackson can't get an interview?
Yeah, what's the deal with
I don't understand. Like
there's some dark
yeah,
story behind that. He's because I think he's been blackballed from the league for some reason.
he
I don't
can't
know.
get an interview. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
the guy really kind of got the Golden State Warriors off the ground. I mean, he
sure.
built a foundation there for him after they've been
Sure.
down so long, and
And
now
he's
he
got a
can't even get a job.
and he's got a great commercial now that he plays on his his phrases that he's done. Have you seen that commercial?
No, I've not. I've not.
Yeah,
No.
it's I
We'll
don't know
find
what it's
that.
for, but he talks about his phrase, "Mama, there goes that man," and I mean it's a play on that. He does a commercial about it, so
Huh.
at least he's got that gig.
He'll be better off probably not coaching the Knicks. Guys, it's
Well,
been great. Thanks so much, Rich, Curry. I'm Bob
thank
Stevens.
you.
Thank you guys for joining us. As
Thank you.
we've thrown a few people under the bus, we'll be back next week. Oh, I'm sure we've got a whole busload of them. Take care. We want to thank our Worldwide Wes, Wesley Kerr, for stepping in
World.
and producing the show. And of course, we want to thank the folks at Hudson's on the Docks on Hilton Head Island. Thanks so much for joining us, folks. We'll see you next week.
Under the Bus is a production of the Lowco Media Network and is filmed on the Hilton Head Island campus of the University of South Carolina, Beaufort. The executive producer is Justin Jarrett, with assistance from Trey Ramsey, Mahogany Hickman, and Adam Carroll.